Alright, so I think we've all been there before where we're folding laundry and we come across this miscellaneous random loose sock and we've no idea where the other pair went. And sometimes even with the best laundry system in mind, where perhaps you put your socks in a laundry bag or you hang them up in pairs on a laundry rack, but despite doing all that, sometimes it still happens that a sock just goes missing. Now, luckily over the years I've implemented this system that has helped me to deal with this kind of problem. So with simple situations like this, there are little things that you can do in order to, in a way, prevent the situation or just make it a bit easier on yourself when you come across this problem again. So in this video, I wanted to showcase 6 examples of similar situations where if you just take 30 seconds to 1 minute of your time to do something that will make it a bit easier on yourself in the long term. This could be examples such as writing down the date of when you paid a bill or labeling an extra button that you got. So here are 6 of those quick organizational tips I like to do with similar situations, starting with the first example. So as with the first example, the missing sock, the way that I like to deal with this problem is basically after folding the laundry and seeing that loose missing sock, I'll place that one loose sock in a specific spot, so in this case this drawer. So then the next time when I'm folding another load of laundry and I come across another loose sock, then I can come to this basket where I kept those other loose socks and see if any of those match. And most often by doing this, I have been able to match up the socks, because sometimes a dark sock can somehow get into your lights load or the other way around, and just this has been a very simple way of 9 out of 10 times matching socks again. But of course sometimes there are situations where that sock just doesn't get matched anymore, and then if it's been a few months where that loose miscellaneous sock still has not found its pair, then most likely it can be thrown away. So I wanted to showcase another random organizational tip that I like to do. So one thing I would always recommend to do is to keep the manual or the warranty booklets that you get whenever you order a new product or even from an old product. But sometimes a package won't come with a warranty, such as from this Rode microphone that I got, and it's past the return date, so now it's time to clean the packaging up. And in this situation there's no warranty booklet inside there. So what I'll do instead is cut off this part here, the most important one, the one that gives the most amount of information. And now I'll add this to the area where I keep those kind of things, like the warranty booklets or instructions, things like this. And now the rest can go into the paper recycling. So here's another quick organizational tip that I wanted to share, and that relates to those buttons that you get from clothing items. So these have finished drying, and these are new shorts from Uniqlo that my boyfriend bought recently. And so from the washing machine already, one of these packages of extra buttons came loose. And so these buttons were placed here at the back, just simply looped around one of the buttons that's already attached, and so these would be very easy to lose. And so rather than just tucking them away in a random spot, I like to give them a quick label and then put them in a designated spot. So I brought down this container where I keep all those extra buttons and some safety pins as well. So this is just a quick thing that'll take 30 seconds to do, but it'll make such a difference for you to know where the hell these buttons come from. And then you won't have to do that whole matching thing if you ever do find yourself needing an extra button. So I'll just simply write down extra buttons that came with the Uniqlo size XL blue chino shorts and olive green chino shorts. And then I'll simply cut them and then add them inside these little Ziploc bags. Now if you have a clothing item where the button is sewn onto the piece and it does not have any risk of falling off or losing it, then I think you can just leave it on the clothing item and you can skip the step. But for something like this, where it was just simply attached to the back button, or when it's attached with a really thin thread, then I would recommend cutting it off, putting it in a Ziploc bag like this, and adding in that label so you know exactly what it's for. And then of course lastly, put those things in a designated spot. Alright, that's done, and now I can put this back in its spot. And this is just an easy and nice way too. First of all, if you need an extra button, you know exactly where they are. But then it'll make the process of finding the right one so much easier because you've labeled them. Okay, so while I was trying to clean all of this packaging up, I thought of two more quick organizational things that I like to do with things like this. So for this example, I'll need this bag and these shoes and these tags. Okay, so what I wanted to showcase here is that my boyfriend ordered these new shoes and they came with these extra shoelaces, and it's very easy just to chuck them in a drawer or chuck them somewhere in the garage and just kind of forget about them. So similar to what I showed in that previous example of those buttons, I want to make a label for this as well and put it with all the other shoe accessories so that if he ever needs to replace the shoelaces, then we know where to go and then we know which ones to grab. So I'm just going to look at the box to see the model name and then the brand. I'll write it down on a piece of paper and then just slip it into the little bag. Okay, and then as a second kind of addition to this all, I like to also take a picture of everything with the shoelaces at the front so that when I add it to our kind of inventory list, I can see that these shoes came with extra shoelaces. Okay, now that that's done, I've slipped that in there, and now these should be able to identify and find back if he ever needs them again. Alright, now this is all ready to be cleaned up. I can put these with the other shoes, put away the shoe box, and put this with all the other shoe accessories. Alright, so now moving on to the next example of quick organizational things I like to do for items like this. So this is a new bag that my boyfriend ordered, and I like to do this with more specialty items that were either quite expensive or they required a bit of research to do it. So this is a very backpacking, kind of hiking, more adventurous backpack. And so it came with these tags that have instruction on it, such as how to make it properly fit, warranty, information about the zipper, things like that. So I feel like it's also very easy just to cut this off and throw this away. And so because it's a bit more of a specialty item, and maybe someday if I ever want to borrow it and want to have a different fit, then I can refer back to this to see how to make it fit properly. So instead of throwing this away, I like to put them into a Ziploc bag and then store them in this container where we keep all kind of instructions, manuals, warranty booklets, things like that. And then the next quick organizational tip related to this item is, well, I like to take a picture of it as well just to help with kind of inventory tracking. And I'll take 2 pictures of it. One with the hip belt separate and then one with the hip belt attached. And the reason for this is that sometimes with items like this, if you use it on a regular basis and you never remove the hip belt, it could happen that you forget that the hip belt was even removable. Or on the other hand, if you never use this hip belt and you always put it aside, you might even forget that it came with a hip belt originally. So just by taking those 2 pictures and then merging it as a collage, then it's a good reference point to see the features of the bag. Okay, and then I'll take another picture from the back with the hip belt attached. And so now I can clean up all the packaging. These are just the kind of examples that take 30 seconds to 1 minute of my time to do. And it makes it so much easier to be able to refer back to these and find these back if we ever needed them again. Now, as I was trying to clean up all the papers in the dining room, I came across another example of a quick organizational tip that I like to do that helps me to prevent from these vouchers going to waste. Now, how often do we get these coupon codes that we intend on using, but then we place it somewhere randomly and we forget about it until it's too late? So what I like to do with these kind of coupon codes that I do intend on using, or that I at least hope to use, is, well, first of all, put it in designated areas. So for example, here's where we keep more of those stamp cards, vouchers, etc. that are more meant for restaurants. So for example, if we head to a cafe where I know they'll give a stamp if you order a coffee, for example, then I'll try to remember to bring the loyalty card, and at least it's easy to find in this area here as it's all collected in the same spot. So another thing I like to do with similar items, if it has a deadline, is to write that deadline on some kind of calendar. So for example, here I wrote down on 21st of June is the last day to get a discount from a restaurant in the neighborhood. And then I'll place those discount codes in the same area so that they're easy to find. And now since that date is written ahead of time, the next time I'm kind of looking through my planner, seeing what's coming up, I can see that that's the last date that we can use that discount code, so then that gives me enough time to also ask a friend or my boyfriend if one of them wanted to join me towards that restaurant. And then on a similar note, by writing it down, it also helps to prevent from holding on to these kind of things for longer than we have to. So for example, if that date has passed and we have not used the coupon code and we have no intention of after all using it, then I know to find them here. And then I can just rip them up and throw them away. And so that's another small way of just reducing clutter around the house. So the next time you find some kind of coupon code or voucher code from a restaurant or even a shop that you intend on using, try to write them the date of by when you're supposed to use that thing. And then if you haven't used that thing, then you can always contact the shop or restaurant and seeing if you could maybe extend the deadline, or otherwise you can just throw the thing away afterwards and help to reduce a bit of clutter around the house. Alright, and so those are the 6 examples I want to showcase of situations where it might not really seem important at the time, or you might not necessarily think to do it at that time. But just by implementing some of these quick organizational tips that usually only takes 30 seconds to 1 minute of my time has helped to overall deal with different situations as showcased in the video, where maybe, for example, the buttons of the shorts fall off and I want to bring to the tailor. Well, now I know exactly where to find them, and it should be very easy to match them as I've labeled it. Now, of course, with a lot of these examples, it's not like I've been doing these for years. Sometimes I'll just simply put have come across a problem, and then from there I came up with a solution that has helped with that situation. So overall, by implementing these quick organizational tips, it has helped to feel a bit more organized and on top of it. So the next time you come across a similar situation where maybe, for example, you ordered a product that came with specific extra screws, well, instead of just throwing that into your garage somewhere, put it in a specific Ziploc, give it a quick label, and as an additional step, make a note somewhere saying that it came with extra screws so that you know where to find those if you ever need those screws again. And so with all that being said, I hope that I've been able to provide some useful and helpful tips that you might think to implement the next time you come across a similar situation. I'd love to hear if you have similar examples of a quick organizational tip that you've implemented over the years that has helped you just simply put feel a bit more organized. So again, I hope that this video was helpful or useful. If you're into hearing about organizational tips, then please subscribe to the channel. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.